Life is of little value in Rome, living in the shadow of the rich and powerful. But all of this is about to change.
So I was not going to ask you just what it was like working with Anthony Hopkins. I'm sure you probably get that a lot today. But you both have scenes where you have to deliver really powerful lines. And Jojo, you've got to do an entire monologue in front of him. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's known for having scenes like that. Did he give you any advice or share any experience with you during those moments?
I mean, yes. The answer to that is simply, by the time we came to do that scene, we'd worked with each other quite a lot. And it's amazing considering his caliber and his experience, how open he is and how up for playing and experimenting he is, and almost insists on it, I would say. And I think, not to toot me and Tom's horn, but I'd like to think that we were all in a sort of place where we were confident and happy working with each other. And that day when I do that speech, I remember we sort of rehearsed it, and then he calls me over and he's like, "Joe, would you mind if I gave you a note?" And I'm like, please, please, Anthony, please give me a note. Any advice, please lay it on me.
I'd like to see what you can do. Put him with this one.
Vigo!
It wouldn't be a period piece without a little bit of backstabbing and scheming. But between that, you two have these moments of having this brotherly relationship that comes through at times. How did you both find navigating that relationship that constantly bounces back and forth?
To be honest, it was Joe's been the one leading on this today, and I agree with him. It's important to highlight that me and Joe got on like a house on fire off screen, so that kind of helps because we were two of the first actors out there. You think about the size of the piece and the size of the cast, and there's a lot of different stories to interweave. But we were we hit the ground running quite quickly, and obviously we had both had that experience with Anthony, and so we bonded. So what the benefit of that, I guess, is that we kind of had a trust. I think Joe's right in referencing that Anthony set a tone. He really did, in terms of that playfulness and that absolute engagement and listening, Like, I think often when you perform, you can get wrapped up in what you're doing. Anthony just felt like he was like laser focused on what we were doing. And that was thrilling and exciting. And it just felt like we tried to take that on. So we didn't really talk about it much, man. In truth, it was something that just kind of existed, and like the balance of marking the difference of when there's a fractious element to their relationship, or when you feel like they may have a bond, that just kind of happened rhythmically. It wasn't something we really spoke about too much, and yeah, hopefully it comes across. It's nice to hear that you think maybe it did. That's really important, because where this season gets to, where the story gets to, you kind of need to feel that closeness as well as the potential friction between the two of them.
What's this? Appears to be a gold bar with an imperial stamp. Where did you get it?
Now the question is, where did you get it?
Well, I'm not the one who has it. You are.
Do not toy with me!
It's a really beautiful part of the story, which maybe we haven't touched on so much, which is that if they were just to connect as brothers, they would be an incredible team. And I think they both have moments where they realize that, which makes it all the more heartbreaking that they are constantly warring and constantly at odds and constantly don't listen to each other or have understanding of where each other are coming from.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Now, obviously, they're both inspired by real historical figures. And obviously, have no video or audio to listen to from them. But how much research did you do on them as actual people? And then how much did you bring from yourselves to these roles?
Well, I found some old photographs actually buried in a shoebox. No,
Up in the loft.
I mean, the thing is, I think Domitian, he has a hell of a lot written about him. He's a very well documented man, even if we don't know what we never saw him waltzing around in his toga as I am. So I think you've got to take tidbits of that and with a pinch of salt, because it was quite a long time ago. I don't know if you knew. But I think it's important when you're playing a historical character that it's always grounded in something that's real, and to think about like how has this guy gone from being a boy growing up in ancient Rome to being a man who is doing some really quite wild stuff. I don't know, what do you think, Tom?
No, I concur. You know, I think with any show, and I think you highlighted it, Jojo. This is 2,000 years ago, you know, and yes, there's an element of the human condition that stays kind of prevalent and relevant, but also it's important to understand the political landscape, the social aspects of what's happening, the rhythms of the time. But then, if I may, actually, that word is the thing for me. Obviously, you do the kind of intellectual side of your research and understanding how you bring this character to fruition. But then there's an element of finding the rhythm of it, and I certainly work in that way. And so the script becomes very helpful for that, and then a certain way of movement. But also, it's about bouncing off the people. You know, Titus can be found in the reflection of Titus that Vespasian considers him to be, or Domitian considers him to be, and so there's a balance between understanding the context within which the story is being told, understanding the context within which that human being and animal is existing, and then finding the more molecular, kinetic components that bring that person to life.
Soon I shall cross the kingdom of darkness, but nothing is more important than protecting our beloved Rome. Our enemies in Rome are dangerous.
They say I walk like a king, talk like a king.